A man and a woman in a room lit only by firelight. She's sitting on what looks like a low wooden platform, her knees drawn up, one arm cradling an infant against her chest. The baby is nursing, mouth working, eyes half closed, the way babies get when they're full and sleepy. Her other hand grips the edge of the platform. Her knuckles are white. Behind her, a man kneels, one hand on her hip, his body pressed against hers. His face is calm, focused. She's looking over her shoulder at him, her expression unreadable. Not pain, not bored, just present. They are not trying to make a baby. They both know that. There's no chance of pregnancy here. And yet, this is the moment someone decided to immortalize in clay. This is the scene they fired in a kiln at 800 degrees, painted with red and cream slip, and placed in a tomb to accompany the dead into whatever comes next. This is the image they chose for the afterlife. Not a battle, not a harvest, not a ceremony. That's not modern. That's not some ancient porn stash dug up by scandalized archaeologists who didn't know what to do with it. That's 300 AD. That's the Moche culture of northern Peru. And that specific vessel with its specific scene, breastfeeding and anal sex on the pot, same moment, same uninterrupted flow of motion, sits in a museum storage room in Lima right now. It's labeled, it's cataloged, it's completely, utterly unashamed of what it shows. Here's what makes that pot genuinely unsettling. It's not a joke, it's not a warning, it's not satire, it's a funeral object. Someone looked at that scene and said, yes, this belongs in the grave. This is appropriate for the journey. And they weren't alone. The Moche made hundreds of these vessels over centuries. In one analysis, 22% of all erotic ceramics from this culture depicted anal sex specifically. More than vaginal, more than oral, anal. Think about that for a second. So the question isn't whether early humans knew about anal sex. They clearly did. The question is, how the hell did they get there? Nothing about anal sex makes intuitive sense. Be honest about that. The anus isn't designed for penetration. It doesn't self-lubricate. The tissue is fragile, easily torn, and those tears are a direct highway for bacteria and infection. You don't just stumble into that the way you stumble into vaginal sex. Vaginal sex has obvious biological logic. Penis goes in, sperm comes out, baby happens. There's a clear chain of cause and effect. Anal sex has none of that. It's inefficient, it's risky, it requires coordination, trust, and frankly, a willingness to be uncomfortable while you figure out the mechanics. And yet, every culture across every continent figured it out. The Greeks painted it on vases going back to 560 BC. The Romans had specific terms for it and strict social rules about who could do it to whom. Free citizens could penetrate slaves, but being penetrated by another man carried a stigma of femininity and subordination. The Chinese carved it into woodblock prints. The Japanese did the same. Ancient Mesopotamia produced clay tablets showing couples drinking beer through straws while engaging in anal intercourse. And those tablets weren't hidden in some secret porns. They were in temples, in libraries, in people's homes. They were pop art. So when did the first human try it? The honest answer is we don't know. There's no cave painting with two figures and an arrow pointing to the relevant body part. No fossilized evidence of the first attempt. No written record from before writing existed. But we can make a pretty good guess based on what we know about human behavior. Anatomically, modern humans have been around for roughly 300,000 years. Our hominid ancestors go back millions. For most of that timeline, we have no evidence of what people were doing in bed, or in the grass, or against a tree, or in whatever dark corner they could find. The oldest explicit erotic art we have is from about 11,000 years ago, but that's just what survived. The gap between that and the emergence of modern humans is enormous, so we're left with inference. And the inference is this: humans are curious. Humans are tactile. Humans have been experimenting with each other's bodies for as long as there have been human bodies to experiment with. There was no committee meeting, no prehistoric conference on alternative reproductive strategies. Just people alone in the dark trying things. Here's the core of it, and this is the part that matters most. Anal sex wasn't discovered. It wasn't invented. It wasn't a clever innovation that someone thought up and then taught to others. That's not how human sexuality works. Every sexual practice that exists today, every configuration, every position, every act that seems exotic or modern or niche, it's almost certainly older than recorded history. People didn't learn it from a manual. They learned it from each other in the moment by accident. Imagine, for a moment, a campfire maybe 40,000 years ago. A small group huddled around the flames. The night is cold, the sky is clear, and there's nothing to do but talk and touch and exist in each other's presence. Two people drift away from the group into the darkness beyond the firelight. They're not thinking about reproduction. They're not thinking about legacy or lineage or any of the grand narratives we project onto the past. They're thinking about warmth, about proximity, about the fact that skin feels good against skin. And in that space, in that quiet, one of them does something that isn't planned. It isn't discussed. It's just a movement An angle, a question asked with the body instead of words. And the other person doesn't stop them. That's it. That's the discovery. No design, no plan. Just two bodies finding a new way to be close. But here's the uncomfortable part, the price. Because anal sex has always carried risks that vaginal sex doesn't. The rectal tissues are delicate, prone to tearing, and those micro tears create direct pathways for infection. In the modern era, we know this as a major route for HIV transmission. In the ancient world, they wouldn't have understood viruses, but they would have understood that sometimes, after certain kinds of sex, people got sick, people died. The anus is not designed for penetration. It can accommodate it, but it doesn't welcome it the way the vagina does. So every culture that practiced anal sex, and that appears to be all of them, also had to contend with the consequences. Infections. Pain, social stigma. The Romans, for all their openness, still drew lines around who could do what to whom. The Greeks used it as an insult. The medieval Catholic Church condemned it entirely because it didn't serve reproduction. There was always a cost, always a shadow side, and yet people kept doing it. Across centuries, across continents, across every taboo and punishment and health imaginable, not because they were told to, not because it was fashionable, because it felt good, and because humans, when left to their own devices, will find every possible way to connect with each other. Now think about your own life. Think about the conversations you've had, the ones that start with, "So, have you ever?" Think about the quiet negotiations that happen in bedrooms, the tentative questions, the experiments. Every one of those moments is a direct continuation of something that's been happening since before there were words for it. You're not inventing anything new. You're joining a tradition that's older than agriculture, older than writing, older than most of what we call civilization. You're part of a species that has never stopped asking, what if? And that pot in the museum storage room, the one with the woman breastfeeding while she's being penetrated from behind, that's not a relic of a strange and distant culture. That's a mirror. That's someone 1,700 years ago looking at the same basic human impulses you carry around every day and deciding to immortalize them in clay. They weren't ashamed. They weren't hiding it. They put it in a tomb next to the body of someone they loved as a gift for the journey ahead. So when early humans discover anal sex, they were never not doing it. The moment two people figured out they could press their bodies together in ways that felt good, they started experimenting. And they never stopped. You're standing in that lineage right now, whether you realize it or not. Every time you touch someone, every time you let yourself be curious, every time you follow an impulse that doesn't make logical sense, you're doing exactly what they did, around a fire, in the dark, with nothing but skin and trust and the quiet, stubborn refusal to settle for less than everything two bodies can offer each other.